Hello, I call you my love bunnies in the Love Lab experiment, which is what your relationship is, and we're cultivating healthy love and getting the love you want. And so this is the first chapter of Getting the Love You Want. I'll be adding in the forwards later. And it begins with the mystery of attraction. When couples come to me for relationship therapy, I usually ask them how they met. Maggie and Victor, a couple in their mid-50s who were contemplating divorce after 29 years of marriage, told Harville this story. We met in graduate school, Maggie recalled. We were renting rooms in a big house with a shared kitchen. I was cooking breakfast when I looked up and saw this man, Victor, walk into the room. I had the strangest reaction. My legs wanted to carry me to him, but my head was telling me to stay away. The feelings were so strong that I felt faint and had to sit down. Once Maggie recovered from shock, she introduced herself to Victor, and the two of them spent half the morning talking. That was it, said Victor. We were together every possible moment for the next 2 months, and then we eloped. If those had been more sexually liberated times, added Maggie, I'm sure we would have been lovers from that very first week. I've never felt so intensely about anyone in my entire life. Not all first encounters produce seismic shock waves. Raina and Mark, a couple 10 years younger, had a more tepid and prolonged courtship. They met through a mutual friend. Raina asked a friend if she knew any single men, and her friend said she knew an interesting man named Mark who had recently separated from his wife. She hesitated to introduce him to Raina, however, because she didn't think that they would be a good match. He's very tall and you're short, the friend explained. He's Protestant and you're Jewish. He's very quiet and you talk all the time. But Raina said none of that mattered. Besides, she said, how bad could it be for one date? Against her better judgment, the friend invited Raina and Mark to an election night party. And I liked Mark right away, Raina recalled. He was interesting in a quiet sort of way. We spent the whole evening talking in the kitchen. Raina laughed and then added, I suspect that I did most of the talking. Raina was certain that Mark was equally attracted to her, and she expected to hear from him the next day. But 3 weeks went by and she didn't hear a word. Eventually, she prompted her friend and found out if Mark was interested in her. With the friend's urging, Mark invited Raina to the movies. That was the beginning of their courtship, but it was never a torrid romance. We dated for a while, then we stopped for a while, said Mark, then we started dating again. Finally, 3 years later, we got married. By the way, added Raina, Mark and I are still married, and the friend who didn't want to introduce us is now divorced. Those contrasting stories raise some interesting questions. Why do some people fall in love with such intensity, seemingly at first glance? Why do some couples ease into a love relationship with a level-headed friendship? And why, as in the case of Raina and Mark, do so many couples seem to have opposite personality traits? When we have the answers to these questions, we will also have our first clues to the hidden psychology and the hidden psychological desires that underlie intimate love relationships, unraveling the mystery of romantic attraction. In recent years, scientists from various disciplines have labored to deepen our understanding of romantic love, and valuable insights have come from each area of research. Some biologists contend that there is a certain biologic to courtship behavior. According to this broad evolutionary view of love, we instinctively select mates who will enhance the survival of the species. Men are drawn to classically beautiful women, ones with clear skin, bright eyes, shiny hair, good bone structure, red lips, and rosy cheeks. Not because of fat or fashion, but because these qualities indicate youth and robust health, signs that a woman is in the peak of her childbearing years. Women select mates for slightly different biological reasons, because youth and physical health are essential to the male reproductive role, and women instinctively favor mates with pronounced alpha qualities, the ability to dominate other males and bring home more than their share of the kill. The assumption is that male dominance ensures the survival of the family group more than youth or beauty. Thus, a 50-year-old chairman of the board, the human equivalent of the silverbacked male gorilla, is as attractive to women as a young, handsome, virile, but less successful male. If we can put aside for a moment our indignity at having our attractiveness to the opposite sex reduced to our breeding and food, money-gathering potential, there is some validity to this theory, whether we like it or not. A woman's youth and physical appearance and a man's power and social status do play a role in mate selection. As a quick scan of the personal messages in the classified ads will attest, successful 45-year-old single white male with private jet desires attractive, slim 20-year-old single white female, and so on. But even though biological factors play a key role in our enormous and more amorous advances, there's got to be more to love than this. Let's move on to another field of study, social psychology, and explore what is known as the exchange theory of mate selection. The basic idea of the exchange theory is that we select mates who are more or less our equals. Then when we are on a search and find mission for a partner, we size each other up as coolly as business executives contemplating a merger, noting each other's physical appeal, financial status, and social rank, as well as various personality traits such as kindness, creativity, and a sense of humor. With computer-like speed, we tally up each other's scores, and if the numbers are roughly equivalent, the trading bell rings and the bidding begins. The exchange theory gives us a more comprehensive view of mate selection than the simple biological model. It's not just youth, beauty, and social rank that interests us, say the social psychologists, but the whole person. For example, the fact that a woman is past her prime or that a man has a low-status job can be offset by the fact that he or she is a charming, intelligent, compassionate person. A third idea, the persona theory, adds yet another dimension to the phenomenon of romantic attraction. The persona theory maintains that an important factor in mate selection is the way a potential suitor enhances our self-esteem. Each of us has a mask, a persona, which is the face that we show to other people. The persona theory suggests that we select a mate who will enhance this self-image. The operative question here is, what will it do to my sense of self if I am seen with this person? There appears to be some validity to this theory. We have all experienced some pride and perhaps some embarrassment because of the ways we believe our mates are perceived by others. It does indeed matter to us what others think. Although these three theories help explain some aspects of romantic love, we are still left with our original questions. What accounts for the intensity of romantic love, as in the case of Maggie and Victor, those feelings of ecstasy that can be so overpowering, and why, as in the case of Raina and Mark, do so many couples have complementary traits? In fact, the more deeply we look at the phenomenon of romantic attraction, the more incomplete these theories appear to be. For example, what accounts for the emotional devastation that frequently accompanies the breakup of a relationship, that deadly undertow of feelings that can drown us in anxiety and self-pity? One client said to me as his girlfriend was leaving him, "I can't sleep or eat. My chest feels like it's going to explode. I cry all the time and I don't know what to do." The theories of attraction we've looked at so far suggest that a more appropriate response to a failed romance would be to simply plunge into another round of mate selection. There is another puzzling aspect of romantic attraction. We seem to have much more discriminating taste than any of these theories would indicate. To see what I mean, take a moment to reflect on your own dating history. In your lifetime, you have met thousands of people as a conservative estimate. Let's suppose that several hundred of them were physically attractive enough or successful enough to catch your eye. When we narrow this field by applying the social exchange theory, we might come up with 50 or 100 people out of this select group who would have combined a point value equal to or greater than yours. Yet most people have been deeply attracted to only a few individuals. In fact, when I counsel single people, I hear again and again, there just aren't any good men or women out there. The world is littered with their rejects. Furthermore, and this is a curious fact, those few individuals that people are attracted to tend to resemble one another quite closely. Take a moment and think about all the personality traits of the people that you have seriously considered as mates. If you were to make a list of their predominant personality traits, you would discover a lot of similarities, including, surprisingly, their negative traits. So from my vantage point as a relationship therapist, I see the unmistakable pattern in my clients' choice of relationship partners. One night, in a group therapy session, I was listening to a man who was 3 months into his second marriage. When his first marriage broke up, he had vowed to the group that he would never be involved with a woman like his first wife. He thought she was mean, grasping, and selfish. Yet he confessed during the session that the days before he had heard the voice of his ex-wife coming from the lips of his new partner. With a sense of panic, he realized that the two women had nearly identical personalities. See, it appears that each one of us is compulsively searching for a mate with a very particular set of positive and negative personality traits. Plumbing the depths of the unconscious mind. For the high degree of selectivity to make any sense, we seek to understand the role of that the unconscious mind plays on mate selection. In the post-Freudian era, most people have become quite adept at rummaging around in the unconscious for explanations of daily events. We talk about knowledgeably Freudian slips, and analyze our dreams, and look for ways to which the unconscious might be influencing our daily behavior. Even so, most of us vastly underestimate the scope of the unconscious mind. There is an analogy that might give a better appreciation for its pervasive influence. In the daytime, we can't see the stars. We talk as if they come out at night, even though they are there all the time. We also underestimate the sheer number of stars. We look up at the sky, see a smattering of dim stars, and assume that's all there is. When we travel far away from city lights, we see a sky strewn with stars and are overwhelmed by their brilliance of the heavens. But it is only when we study astronomy that we learn the whole truth. The hundreds of thousands of stars that we see on a clear moonless night in the country are only a fraction of the stars in the universe, and many of the points of light that we assume to be stars are in fact galaxies. So it is with the unconscious mind. The orderly, logical thoughts of our conscious mind are but a thin veil over the unconscious, which is active and functioning all the time. So let's take a brief look at the structure of the brain, that mysterious and complex organ with many different subdivisions for simplicity's sake. I like to use neuroscientist Paul MacLean's model and divide the brain into three concentric layers. The brainstem, which is the inner and most primitive layer, is that part of the brain that oversees reproduction, self-preservation, and vital functions, such as the circulation of blood, breathing, sleeping, and the contraction of muscles in response to external stimulation. Located at the base of the skull, this portion of the brain is sometimes referred to as the reptilian brain, because all vertebrates from reptiles to mammals share this portion of the anatomy. For the purpose of this discussion, let's think of the brainstem as the source of physical action. Flaring like a wishbone around the top of the brainstem is the portion of the brain called the limbic system, whose function seems to be the generation of vivid emotions. Scientists can surgically stimulate the limbic system of laboratory animals and create spontaneous outbursts of fear and aggression. In this book, we use the term old brain to refer to the portion of the brain that includes both the brainstem and the limbic system. Think of the old brain as being hardwired and determining most of your automatic reactions. The final area of the brain is the cerebral cortex, a large convoluted mass of brain tissue that surrounds the two intersections and is itself divided into 4 regions of lobes. This portion of the brain, which is the most developed in Homo sapiens, is the site of most of our cognitive functions. I refer to the cerebral cortex as the new brain because it appeared most recently in evolutionary history. Your new brain is the part of you that is conscious, alert, and in contact with your daily surroundings. It's the part of you that makes decisions, thinks, observes, plans, anticipates, responds, organizes information, and creates ideas. The new brain is inherently logical and tries to find a cause for every effect and an effect for every cause. To a degree, it can moderate some of the instinctual reactions of your old brain. By and